Supermoon Tarot, and in today's video we're going to be going over good luck predictions, as in what's going on with your luck. Do you feel like it's sort of not within your grasp? Do you feel like it's within your grasp but you're not quite sure how to get to the next step? What is ahead of you? How can you keep that good fortune coming your way continuously and in a conscious way? In addition to that, I wanted to let you guys know I put up a new Patreon video about how can we distinguish between subconscious dreams like fears, our brain processing our life, time travel, and precognitive events. In addition to that, I have an intuition training course and a tarot training course that go really well together. In the intuition training course, you learn how to go to the spirit realm, meet your spirit guides, but bring what you learn and experience from the non-physical into the physical and see how the two actually overlap, if you will. In addition to that, the tarot training course is fantastic for simplifying the process of reading so you can jump right into it. I even have a 100-page PDF file where you can just go right into reading the cards. But while it is more simplified, it doesn't take away the detailing of the messages you can receive. So I just want to let you guys know, as usual, that's available. We have 4 groups in front of us. Group number 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to give you a moment to pick the group that you resonate with most. Now that you've picked that group, you can go down to the description where you can go to your designated group and mark timestamp, and let's get started with group number 1. Group number 1, let's see what's going on with your good luck by looking at the cards. We've got Toxic in Reverse Oracle card, Knight of Wands in reverse, the Devil card upright, Page of Wands in reverse, 6 of Wands upright, 7 of Wands upright, wow, and 8 of Swords in reverse. Look at all of this fire, even in the Devil card over here. Wow, this is a very passionate and creative person I'm looking at. Which, definitely right off the bat, before I even look into the details of this, I just want to comment, often people who are like very creative and resonate by going through life when they feel inspired, like, when you feel passionate about something, you feel the drive to move forward and work on things, can feel a lot of highs and a lot of lows, and sometimes feel scattered by the process. So can feel almost like a blessing and a curse. That's not a negative thing, but it can be overwhelming, and it feels like on one moment you're a force to be reckoned with and attracting all this good stuff, and the next you're not quite sure what happened or how to get back into it. You only know where you want to be. So I'm happy to say I'm seeing a bunch of cards that talk about specific things to focus on to get you there, essentially. So just give me a moment to look at some more details. Okay. I love the directness that's going on between the Devil card and this Toxic card in reverse. Okay, so let's first start off with the 6 of Wands, my spirit guide's pointing out. This card's fantastic. It's not necessarily, if you're familiar with tarot yourself or my tarot training course, it's not necessarily like good fortune, like the Wheel of Fortune is, but it is a fortunate card. This is when people are paying attention to what you have to offer, you are being recognized, people like what you're throwing down, and it involves a lot of success, but not just success. It's like, wow, everyone's so excited that you're successful, and it's a very positive thing. It's also a good thing to pay attention to, that this implies that, wait, let me just check if this is a future thing or if this is a current thing. Future in general, or I'm just getting specifics for my spirit guide. Okay, cool. So when you are in that good mindset and you are really feeling yourself and feeling confident and happy, definitely do not be afraid to share your ideas or things that you want out of, a career or life with others, your peers in the universe, and say, hey, I want that thing. By expressing it, you are in a more favorable position than others when you're in this good mindset. You're in this like magnetic mindset where people want to give it to you, want to give that opportunity to you. Things want to be handed to you, but you have to be willing to say it, claim it, put it out there, let people know that that's what you want. You'll get a positive reception, but you just have to step up to the plate in that regard. Now, that being said, though, I want to more focus on what my spirit guide initially was talking about. They said, look at all of these individuals in the background, the friends and family that helped this individual in the middle get to where they're at in the Six of Wands energy. Now, my spirit guide clarified this is not specifically focusing on your friends and family. It's not even focused on the idea of being selfless and being like, I wouldn't have gotten here if all these people hadn't helped me. It's about paying attention to, it took a bunch of little moments, little activities, little things to create the whole. And so sometimes we get locked on the whole, the entirety, I want to get to endpoint and feel like X, Y, and Z, and we just focus on that endpoint and they were like, well, how do I get there? In your case, it would be beneficial to slow down and enjoy all the little things it took to get there. So let's say you want to achieve a bigger goal in your career. You want to specifically get a particular position. It would be a good idea to be like, okay, well, something I do every day is I try to anticipate my boss's needs by getting this particular errand they want done in advance. And you're going to be like not so focused on like, how do I get to that end goal? How do I get to the end goal? It's that little job you're doing every single day that you're going to focus on. Then you're going to like, when you're getting ready in the morning and you're trying to organize your day so it's a little more fluid when you're getting to work. So you try to get your coffee pre-prepared. You try to, already have your clothes laid out and that type of thing. These little moments are all adding up to something and mean something. And it's a great place to put your focus and attention. So when you're paying attention to these little tiny things that you think that will improve your chances of getting there and going there, this is all the little bits are adding up to the whole essentially. And that includes the same concept when you're working on longer term projects. Some projects are, you want to get to the end point, you're so excited about it, and you might underestimate all the little things you're working on that create that project. So again, we're going to use a creative sense here. So let's say you're working on a painting and you're like, does it even mean anything that I worked so hard on this little bit of texture on this part of the painting? Yes. When you back away from the canvas, it will create an illusion that you'll be happy with, that in the long term people will notice and gravitate towards, even if they can't always identify what it is. So again, you want to slow down and look at all the little tiny, sort of section it up into little tiny pieces, because that is what will create the whole, which will get you to the end point, so to speak. Now, over here we have a bit of future telling stuff too. Specifically in the Seven of Wands, somebody is going to want to mess with you out of jealousy. I find this is a super common sort of, not all the time, but I'm just sharing this again for my tarot training people. You want to start to notice patterns in your cards, personality types. You don't want to generalize people because then you will miss out on the more detailing of the reading, and no person is the same, just to be clear, but you will notice common things. And I find people that have that Six of Wands energy or that Knight of Wands energy are just so magnetic and are just so likable that things, when they are in the right mindset and mood to attract that good fortune, other people can sense how almost seamless it is for them when they're in that mood and that emotional mindset to attract that there can create jealousy because they want to be on that energy wave. Now, keep in mind, whatever's going to work for them to create their good fortune is something different. They just don't function the way you do. But that's just super common, I notice. So anyways, it's both like a compliment is what I'm trying to say. But Now, keep in mind, this individual does not really hold a lot of sway, or they're not going to do anything to mess with your good fortune, but they want you to think they can. They are going to try to be like, hey, I hold your fate in my hand. And you're like, no, you don't. You actually don't have that position. You don't have that title. You might think, like a good example is, let's say you're trying to get a new position at your work. Again, we're just talking about career, but good fortune comes in many different beautiful categories in life, but we're going back to that metaphor. So let's say you want to kind of get in good, so to speak, with your boss to get that next position. They might make it seem like, oh, I'll say bad things about you to your boss, and then look at all this power I have. They have no power. They have no sway. They're kind of all talk, if you will. They just want to create the illusion that they do in order to instill fear in you, and that will in turn give them more power. Now, the beautiful thing is and this is something I love about tarot when it's super on the nose with the reading. It's a great way to also double confirm that you're reading accurately. But this is a very on the nose response when we have the Eight of Swords in reverse. Not only does it talk about being free of those limitations, it's specifically about freedom from limitations, but again, in the Eight of Swords, this is all about self-imposed obstacles. So what that means is, whenever you get an Eight of Swords thing, it's actually something you shouldn't be anxious about, something you should lean into and be relieved when you see, because it implies that when you are dealing with like a bully or someone trying to create, again, the word coming to mind is obstacle, in fact, they only have as much power as you give them, and that they don't actually hold sway over what you can do or not do. So with it being in reverse, it implies not only will you successfully realize this and not even worry about it or deal with it, that shows you will be able to successfully connect to that mindset when this person pops up, but you will also in turn have freedom from them and freedom from the illusion of the obstacle that they're trying to create. Again, they are all talk. So when you see this, understand it is both a blessing because it's implying how great you're doing, that you're creating sort of a jealousy in others, but also that you're fine, you will move forward. Just don't give in to any sort of worry or concern of like, well, what if they say this or what if they do this? They have no power. Just to be clear. Now I want to move on to, this is sort of all running into, it's saying a couple different things, but they are all sort of related, if you will, especially with what's going on over here. So first, the Page of Wands in reverse. My spirit guide said that something that's sort of how do I put this? A thing that can slow you down psychologically is when you feel things are predictable, essentially. You're first excited about whatever you're working on, and then suddenly it feels like you can anticipate the next thing that's going to happen, and you start to become, you can have any reaction from disillusioned to jaded, whatever, or just frustrated and bored. But the thing is, feeling bored or feeling like things are predictable are sort of a strength and something you can use to your advantage. So think about this. Abundance. The idea that everything is coming to you. There's more new things. There's more things to offer in the world. All that good jazz. That implies, of course, you'll never get bored. Of course, things aren't predictable. There's always something else, and it's forever coming your way. When you start to exude the energy of, same thing, same day, nothing's new, is anything new? You're sort of telling the universe, oh, I'm not abundant. Oh, abundance doesn't exist in my current closest reality that I'm currently living in. So it's nothing you need to have fear over, but when we understand this mindset, we can use it to our advantage. So essentially what's happening is, you're going to go, oh, I'm starting to feel like things are predictable. My strength would be tapping into the excitement of how to do the job I'm doing differently, view the world in a different way, and you should strive for newness. You should strive for passion. It's okay if it takes a second to look for it, but don't underestimate being creative about the process itself. You can totally be like, okay, maybe in the current job I'm in, it's just like, I'm trying to think of a super run-of-the-mill job that's very redundant. Maybe you move people around, like you're a what is it called? You're a mover. You help people transition from new homes and stuff like that. So you're picking up boxes, packing them, and moving them back and forth. It can get pretty redundant. You need to look into that and be like, okay, can I make a game out of it? Could I predict what the next weight would be of the box? Could I think of the boxes and how they get together like a Tetris game? Could I imagine that every time I see the boxes being opened and moved, could that be something that makes me reflect on my own interior design for my own house that I'd like to do differently, or gets me excited and I want to go seek that out? Whatever is going to help you look at your circumstance in a new, exciting way and feel that is going to create that air of abundance and then keep drawing it into you with opportunities and so on and so forth. So if you feel that sort of predictable mindset kicking in, it's a good time to recheck in with yourself and view your life in a more creative, passionate way to keep that flow going. Now over here though, this is where it sort of ties in a little bit when we talk about the finding things predictable. So in the Devil card, this is the representation of self-sabotaging patterns. That's the best way I want to put it. And it looks like you can kind of get in your head about something, especially when we talk about the predictability factor. There's something that you just find you think about or you start practicing, and suddenly you're unable to break free of this pattern that creates this stagnation in your life that holds you back. You start to think in that mindset of like, oh, tomorrow, or I'll do it tomorrow. I keep saying it tomorrow. Oh man, am I ever going to get this done? Maybe I don't think you come across as like a jealous person, but like, I'm just trying to say, like, you start to think thoughts like, oh, why not me, out of a lacking type mindset. Whatever it is certain patterns that hold you back, and you get sucked into them and you start to become disillusioned with life, if you will. Now, we have a super on-the-nose reading again, like we talked about over here in the Eight of Swords in reverse and the Seven of Wands upright, with the Toxic card in reverse straight up talks about an unhealthy relationship or situation ending, coming to a close. And the Devil card upright is the opposite. So we're bringing that finality to that common pattern that keeps disrupting you over and over again through what's going on over here in the Knight of Wands, which is actually not being read in reverse, but being read upright, but is showing through the imagery of facing into this card. It's bringing this severance in through the energy of what the Knight of Wands traditionally has to offer. Now, this is somebody who's like, okay, I'm starting to notice my pattern happen again. Maybe your pattern is you are going to come home from work, find inspiration, get excited about life, do whatever it is you want to do, go out with friends, play a fun game or something like that. And then before you know it, you're like, oh, well, I'll just take a nap, which is fine. This is not me talking trash on naps. We all love a good nap. But then that nap lasts for 2.5 hours, and then you wake up. Then you kind of feel sad that you took such a long nap, and you feel like the night's over. Then you start kind of cruising certain websites that just kind of don't really enrich you or get you excited about anything. Then you do that for too long. Then you kind of judge yourself the rest of the night. And then this is a loop that's happening over and over again. What you have to do is bring in the Knight of Wands is someone that comes in with like a force to be reckoned, but with a bit of a student's mindset. And what I mean when I say that is they go into that loop going, you know what? Nope. I can sense it happening. Who cares that I took that nap? Who cares? I still have plenty of hours. Even if I only have fun for 1 hour before I go to bed, I can do something. And they're just passionate. They're just like bringing that sense of like, I've got this willpower and excitement and energy. But the reason why that student mindset, or actually, wait, let me double check with my spirit guide, because Paige is student. Oh, okay, my spirit guide said still students energy. Okay, cool. Sorry, I was just flowing with that and just making sure. Okay, cool. We're still students energy. So when you go in with that students energy, it is this mindset of being like, okay, I see that I could try this in a different way. Let me trial and error and see if this works. And not beating yourself up if you make mistakes. Looking and going, okay, I fell asleep. Could I do something different? Could I go for a walk? Let's try that. And even if that doesn't get you excited, you're like, okay, well, not a big deal. I tried it out. Let me do this. And you're just constantly bringing this force to be reckoned with passion. The passion is, I'm going to change this. I'm going to bring it differently. I don't know how I'm going to figure it out, but I'll figure it out through seeing what's going to work and so on and so forth. But with it being night, because remember I missaw that for a page, but I'm being told it is still being read in a student's energy. With it being a night, the main focus of this card is somebody that does not back down. They keep bringing it, they keep going. So it's taking on that energy where you're like, well, I just don't know. Who cares if you don't know? You're going to figure it out by the end of the night. You're going to try things out. So that is the main thing that's going to pull you out of those loops, is just the will that you're going to pull yourself out of your loop, even though you don't mean to. But again, those loops definitely get started with that boredom, and this is the main thing we're going to focus on by the end of this reading that we want to pay attention to. When we're no longer feeling our magnetic, likable self because of boredom, or things feel a little off for whatever reason, or we're just having a bad day, we then only reflect on, oh, remember how great I was doing last week? I don't know how to get there again, but I'd like to. And then there becomes this focus on, you'd like to get there, but you're not quite sure when. You want to redirect your attention to the individual small things that you can do in the day, because they are going to add up to the general goal you have set in mind, but you're going to redirect your attention to being like, okay, this little tiny thing I'm working on now, it will add up to me feeling better. It will get me back in my flow. I will find my way there by focusing on these little steps. And you also want to be aware that finding passion in the smallest of things is what creates that abundant mindset, which creates a lot of opportunities being attracted to you. And when we feel those opportunities are being brought to us and we feel excited about life, this is when we get into that magnetic flow and energy. Good time to ask for even more stuff. You get the gist. So overall, fantastic, wonderful, fiery, happy soul. I love this. No one's going to mess with you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it if you get displaced. These are things you can keep in mind going forward in the future. But remember, when you're in that flow, ask for more, because you're the one to receive it, and it's not imposing. It's actually like a good thing that works in your favor. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Please give it a like, a comment, a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 2. Group number 2, let's look at your good fortune by looking at the cards. We have destruction, right? Yes, destruction oracle card in reverse. 5 of Wands, very appropriately, right after it, upright. The King of Cups in reverse. The 8 of Cups in reverse. The Hermit in reverse. The Fool card in reverse. And the Moon card in reverse. Oh, interesting. These two are similar-ish ideas, but I can already see they're sort of looking at different sides of the coin, if you will. Give me one moment to get specifics on what's going on over here. Ooh, okay. Okay, so first let's start off with what's going on over here with the Fool card in reverse and the Moon card in reverse. Now, this is more focusing on the future. Let me just double check if it has anything to do with the present. No, just future. Okay. So there is the potential. We're going to say potential here because you can actually change this for your benefit. This is something to kind of be aware of. It's like both a combination of events that could happen mixed with habits you can kind of be more self-aware about. So in the Fool card in reverse, this is when an individual is making choices that are a bit of a gamble. They are putting themselves in jeopardy, and they're just making a lot of bad calls in order to create the sensation of feeling free, because they so don't feel that way. So it's like them being like, you know what, I just got to get a good mood, I just got to feel great, and they make risky decisions that they are conscious of are not good, but they're like, you know what, I need to feel freer, I just need to take this chance and opportunity. Like, let's say they are going to force themselves to go bungee jumping. This is just an example, and this particular bungee jumping place is not known to have very high star rating and is a little dangerous. They know better. They know they shouldn't take the chance. They don't need to do this in order to show that they are a fun-loving individual. You know what I mean? And still they make that choice, and it is a card of a bit of a warning saying you're going to regret doing that. A good example is like, you're like, you know what? I'm opening up a little shop. I'm gonna have my own little business, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna get a bunch of different potential options to work with, so that I can use for my set design when I'm taking photos of my products, and you kind of get too many of those things, or too many of one kind of thing, like a bunch of pom-pom balls or something like that. And essentially you look back and you're like, oh no, I've spent too much of my budget on this. It doesn't look as good as I thought it would. Now I'm kind of in a precarious position with what I can spend on my actual product moving forward. What do I do? And you did that because you're like, you know what, let me take a risk. Let me do something different. And you were just kind of forcing yourself to do that. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean you can't try new things and push yourself out of the boundary. We're being self-aware of that when we look at the Moon card in reverse. As you can tell by the reflections, we have a bit of our shadow self coming through. And that would be a good time to check in with yourself when you're making a decision, and this is how you would identify it. When you go to make that decision to try something new that would, in order to attract more good fortune, put yourself in a position of maybe being more noticed, if there's that little part of you that knows it's a bit of a risk, knows like, I don't know, is it the best idea? That's when you want to tap into yourself and say, am I acting from my shadow self? My shadow self is making decisions out of fear. Am I afraid that if I don't try something new or do this, I'm going to be left behind? Is that fear element orchestrating what I'm going to do next? Or is it like, I just feel pulled to doing this. I feel like I know it's a little bit of a risk, but I'm going to try it out. That's a different sort of perspective and mindset going forward. But if you're making decisions out of the fear of being left behind, the fear of not being seen, that type of stuff, that is your shadow self. And that in turn is going to be reflected back at you by that fear being sort of realized in a very foreseeable risk you didn't have to take, essentially. So you will be able to identify when these are not great decisions. You'll already know, like, it'll be common sense of being like, I don't know if I should spend my money in that or invest in that or maybe go in that direction of that job, even though it seems like a good job. I don't know, I've heard bad things about it. When you feel that inkling and then you feel yourself starting to make that decision, you have to ask yourself, am I making it because I still think, you want to try something new, and those are your mindsets? Or are you thinking, oh no, what if? That's when you want to slow down, and this would be a good time to either avoid that choice altogether and kind of sort of reset yourself, if you will. Put no expectations on yourself for like 2 days. You're going to have good fortune in the end. Don't worry, that's going to happen for all of us. It's all good things. But you're going to just kind of say, you know what, I'm just not going to think about these particular goals I have in mind going forward for like 2 days. I'm just not going to think about it. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. And essentially then when you go back into making those decisions, you're choosing it from a very calm state of mind. You're going to be like, you know what, I'm so glad I didn't end up picking that job. I want a schedule I'm happy with, and that doesn't seem like a really fun schedule for me. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. You're tapping in, you're being self-aware of when you're coming from that fear-based mindset, and you're preventing yourself from making choices you just don't need to make and you can foresee. The next thing is a bit of this series of cards put together perfectly. I'm so glad I put them out like that. So, we have an individual in the King of Cups in reverse. I'm just double checking this is a future thing. For some it is right now. Okay, so this would be somebody who has some sort of hierarchy or leadership. This is another individual, not you. This is somebody else. They would be recognizable because they are some sort of boss, or they sort of command a small group of some kind. People respect what they have to say. And that is the biggest thing my spirit guide said, is that they are very emotionally manipulative, and people tend to, like, if they say, this is what I think, people just follow. They're like, well, I don't know, Johnny said this, like, Johnny said that, like, and it feels almost like, have you ever been in an experience where you just feel like all your coworkers are like brainwashed, and you're just like, really? Because when I'm looking at this, I see that, and I think it's pretty obvious. What are you talking about? This would be pretty easy to identify them in this way. Now, this individual is going to cut you out of an opportunity. I know this might be initially hard to hear, but keep in mind, this is a good thing. So they're going to sort of turn their back on you, just as it is being reflected in these cards. And they're going to prevent you from getting this opportunity, this chance. They might have said something to other people, but the whole group as a whole will sort of cut you out as well, which is very frustrating and annoying, because you're like, this one person is standing in my way to get this thing. I'm so mad. I'm so frustrated. But here's the thing. Your first reaction, and this is another way to identify what situation you're particularly in, to be like, oh, I'm in the situation, but also things to be aware of so you don't even have to go into this mindset. So in the Five of Wands, this is you just wanting to confront them, feeling very emotionally strong about this, like being fired up about being like, I want to go talk to them, they do not have the right, and just feeling compelled to lay down the law and line, so to speak. Now, you do not need to do that. Also, and just to be, and no, this isn't like the most fun to hear, but they will not even fight back with you, to be honest with you. With their back, they're just going to make a decision, be happy that they have sort of a control over their group, be happy that they can make decisions and be in the illusion of thinking they're in the power, because they can take away an opportunity from you. So even if you did try to yell at them or tell them what's what, you're not going to get back the emotional reaction you're hoping for. They're not even going to really acknowledge you, and you'll just be extra frustrated that it's almost like feeling like you didn't get closure, or you got cut off from a sentence type of sensation. So it's not even worth it on an emotional level. But here's the great thing you're going to be happy to hear. In the Destruction card in reverse, this implies something really bad would actually, it's very Ten of Swords in reverse energy. Just to, again, this is for my tarot lovers and tarot training intuition course. This is similar energy to a Ten of Swords in reverse situation. This card is about, this would have been really bad. This situation would have been seriously bad, and you essentially avoided it. You got to not deal with something you would have been really miserable being involved with, and that it is a blessing that you essentially avoided it. So initially, what seems like your good luck or fortune is being controlled by others, or being interfered with, it's a great thing that's being interfered with, that you're being blocked out like that. Because if you had gotten the opportunity, you would have been miserable in so many words. It would have been really bad. And so while it initially will be like, what? When you're in that state of mind, when you miss out on something, your first thought is like, that was the only thing possibly in the entire world that I could have gone to move forward in my good fortune, career, whatever it is, connection romantically or something like that. No, they cut me off. Like, no, keep in mind, there is always another solution. There's always another path. You're abundant. There's all this good opportunity coming your way. This is not the only way, just to keep that in mind. But you can avoid being angry and confronting them and feeling like a sense of, like, when we sometimes get really revved up, once it goes sort of too far emotionally, it's really hard to like pull that back and then feel better. So you can avoid going through that. Not that you're not allowed to be angry and upset. You can be angry and upset, but I'm just saying you can avoid going through that. Realize like, oh, great, I'm being cut off. This is that moment that I avoided something I would have been unhappy with. Okay, well, I won't even get mad. Thank you, jerk, for making sort of a decision I wouldn't even have known I should have avoided. And I'll just move on and find that opportunity somewhere else. Also, a good kind of perspective to think of, to be aware of, that sometimes situations that initially seem bad can actually be disguised to be really good. Something to carry going forward, life lesson learning wise. Now, in the Hermit card in reverse, my spirit guide said that you will have great fortune if you share what it is that you're personally interested in. They were telling me it was like a combination of like a hobby that you do just kind of by yourself, that you vibe with, that's your own alone time type thing. Or maybe on, in your own private time, you have your own perspective and feelings and thoughts, and you don't, normally share them out with others and regularly say, well, this is my 2 cents. You should put that out there, and that you should try to turn it into something, my spirit guide said. Whether that be your, oh no, is it still recording? Okay, sorry. Sorry about that. It said that it was a low battery. We're still going. We're good. Okay. Hopefully that didn't pause or phase out weird. Okay. Going back on what we were saying. You should turn that into something and start sharing with people what it is you have to offer, whether that be what you have to say, like commentary, or your just opinion or your knowledge you've gathered, or even if it is more of like a physical type of hobby that you're working on, because apparently it is something that is of value and that other people will want to essentially pay for, which is very cool. And last but not least, we have the 8 of Cups in reverse, that very much has similar energy to the Fool card, and a great sign to again, avoid frustration. It's really interesting. A lot of these cards talk about the potential of frustration and avoiding the frustration, that the frustration is sort of the universe communicating and giving signs to you of what to avoid, essentially. So when the 8 of Cups in reverse, this is something just to kind of keep in mind going forward into the future. If you are working towards something, and let's say, again, we go back to that concept of you've got your small business, you're an artist of some kind, and let's say your idea is like you're gonna start selling stickers. Well, you go to make the stickers, something goes wrong, the printer doesn't work, you have to buy a new printer. Something goes wrong with that printer, then you try to get new paper, then the paper doesn't come in time. If you notice a bunch of different avenues of you trying to complete the task that you're pursuing isn't working out, that is the universe saying, stop it, don't go towards this. For whatever reason, you're not meant to go in this area, and instead of getting frustrated and continuing to push forward despite the constant interruption, you can pursue that same field in a different way. So you might go, okay, stickers are not meant to be where I'm going to go. I'm going to do prints instead, or maybe you're going to do like t-shirts or something fun like that. Whatever it is, when you find those interruptions happen, instead of getting frustrated that something's wrong or something's wrong with you, nothing's wrong, everything's okay. It's just a sign that you're basically being told, stop focusing here. You're going to find a lot more fruitful, both emotional happiness, prosperity with good fortune somewhere else. So to review, when we have in the Fool card, that risk that potentially could be taken because you're trying to get into a better mindset, reset, take 2 days off, Don't put yourself in an opportunity you know better than. Over here, what sometimes feels like something bad happening is actually a blessing, and you're going to be so happy you picked a different opportunity you didn't know you wanted. Remember, there's always other opportunities in abundance. You do have something to say and to offer, and something you sort of kind of kept to yourself. You should start sharing it out into the world, because it can become something that you can be really excited about. And with the Eight of Cups in reverse, remember, sometimes, again, same concept that we talked about over here. When something feels like it's not working out, it doesn't mean you can't still pursue that career, but maybe you're meant to do it on a different platform. Like a good example is, like, let's say you stream, maybe it's not working out on Twitch, but it will work on YouTube, that type of thing. So keep all of those things in mind, and I'm just so excited for you. If you enjoyed this, please give this video a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 3. Group number 3. Let's look at your fortune by looking at the cards. We have, oh wow, Other Worlds in reverse. That is so interesting. Sorry, I just totally got distracted by that. Oh, my spirit guide said, put this over here. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Let me read the cards. I got so distracted by the Other Worlds Oracle card in reverse that I just totally zoned out in there. So we have that card. We also have the King of Wands in reverse, Queen of Pentacles in reverse, Ace of Wands in reverse, the Ace of Pentacles upright, the Two of Swords upright, and the Two of Pentacles in reverse. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is really interesting. This is very specific onto one concept that gets broken down in such a detailed fashion. So we're mostly focusing on one central theme and idea, and then really looking at every possible aspect of it so you thoroughly understand it, which I love. Just give me one more moment to look at all the details of these cards to get all the rest of the information. Okay, so the most important card that we're working with is over here in the Ace of Pentacles. You could say a little bit with the interaction with the Ace of Wands in reverse, but well, it's not being read in reverse, but the point is it's more of the interaction between the two of them. So let's focus on the Ace of Pentacles first, which, by the way, this is a very funny note, but my spirit guide was like, ignore their face. Because the face, and it does not match the mood and what's going on in the message of the card. So anyways, so over here we have a pentacle, and my spirit guide said that there is an opportunity that can potentially fall into your lap and make you a large amount of money, they said. You said like a consistent like flow of money, right? Correct. Okay, cool. So anyway, look over here, we have a door. And over here we have a key. And my spirit guide said, metaphorically, if you will, this opportunity is being locked up. And you are looking for that key, if you will, in order to get past the door that it's locked up, and in order to receive this pentacle and opportunity. But something to keep in mind, when you are in the pursuit of this key and understanding it and unlocking it, you are in turn understanding a greater part of who you are and why it got locked up, and potentially future sort of blockages that you can therefore avoid by not only developing the ability to find said key, and we're talking about this as a metaphorical way, we'll just break this down in 1 second, but also by understanding this potentially was something that got in your way in the past, and you're removing it. So when we talk about a doorway, we're talking about like sort of a blockage of perspective, if you will. And a good way to view that concept of the blockage, and we're just using an example here, and that idea of the key, is let's say you're like, oh, I didn't get this one job opportunity, this one career thing I wanted, therefore I'm unable to, obviously money's not going to fall into my lap. But the key would say to you, well, why can't money just fall into your lap? Why can't you get an opportunity in another field you weren't even looking for, or another position at another place, or maybe even just purely you're given money for whatever reason? Why can't that happen? Because part of you is just focused on one concept and one avenue, and you're unaware that you're sort of closing yourself off from other potential opportunities. So the key would be being aware that there is the possibility you could entertain, that anything could happen, and that you could receive an influx of money or opportunities through other means, however they come. So that would be a good example of it being blocked and finding the key. So let's break down that concept as a whole, because it's pretty nuanced with what's going on over here. So first we have the Two of Swords, and the way we're viewing the Two of Swords is not by two decisions that are being you're looking at two different options and making a decision, but in fact, we're looking at the concept of the rain in the background representing this idea of like cosmic fluid options and knowledge. And I'll break that down in one more second. And then the swords representing logic. Sometimes in the Two of Swords, when the Two of Swords pops up, this is when an individual might potentially be making decisions, or in life in general, by being too logical, too straightforward, as we gave an example over here in the Ace of Pentacles. And that in fact, they should reflect more in what is going on with the water. Now, just for informational sake, traditionally when you're reading the Two of Swords, water would represent emotions and being like, I know this logically makes sense, but maybe the thing that you're emotionally pulled to is the better decision. This is more, in this particular reading, my spirit guide said, we're focusing on the idea of cosmic knowledge, the non-physical, so on and so forth. Now, what does that exactly mean if you're not familiar with exploring the spirit realm and stuff like that? Well, in the spirit realm, anything is possible from how you communicate. You might not even communicate through words. You might communicate through symbols or through energy passing through you, and that just enables you to know things without needing a language specifically. The way you transport around the spirit realm can be anything from teleportation to shifting realities to taking one step forward to flying. It could be anything. And when you spend more time there, you start to have your brain opened up in a very high vibrational way. High vibrational type of thinking is somebody who can see outside of this box, see all the potential, understand that multiple things potentially can be true, and understand that and accept that. So when you are looking and making decisions in life, when you're viewing it only in a logical sense, now remember, we're not criticizing logic. Logic is a very beautiful thing. Practicality is a wonderful thing. In fact, there is quite a lot of practicality in spirituality and exploring the spirit realms. But all that in mind, keeping that in mind, we're more talking about the concept that when you are making decisions, are you a little too rooted in only logic right now? Do you need to potentially explore that cosmic, watery knowledge, spirit realm type of thinking? Is there a way you can maybe fathom that things could happen different ways, be more flexible with a possibility, creative solutions, things like that, choosing things based on instinct or emotion rather than just what is the practical best option? Because just because it's the practical best option doesn't mean it's going to work out the way you think it is or work out in your favor. Again, we're talking about that key, that idea that the more you are expressing yourself in a more open manner and the way you view the world, you are reflecting that and you will receive that back. Which means that you can receive this opportunity in any possible means and explore it through any possible way. Now going on, we have the Two of Pentacles here, which is really interesting and kind of gets reflected over here in the King of Wands in reverse and the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Keep in mind, these two are not exactly related to one another, but there is a duality that repeats itself again. So first, let's look at this imagery over here with the Two of Pentacles. We have these two people holding two pentacles. And the way my spirit guide is describing this imagery over here is that these two individuals cannot agree upon what it is that they want via, like have a mutually agreed upon belief system in order to balance these pentacles. Normally, when you look at the image of this Two of Pentacles, if you're not familiar with tarot, it's usually someone balancing on like a seesaw, and it's all about sort of a juggling act, if you will. And in this image, remember, it's in reverse, so we're viewing it as a quote-unquote negative. So normally, if it's upright, it's saying they are balancing, but I'm just trying to keep all these factors in mind so you can follow along. So this individual is, the way my spirit guide explained this, these two individuals are having trouble agreeing upon the belief system, if you will, of what is going to create the balance. Now, they can defend themselves. As you see this person incapacitated, they are unable to, they're no longer a threat, if you will, to what they are protecting and working on. So on one hand, you're really good at defending all the reasons why this is a good idea, why this should happen. You have all the common sense there. But the core reason, again, we talk about that key, the core reason it's not working is you're sort of in disagreement with your own self. You're not on the same page with your own self. So where there is confused harmony is you can defend it, you can protect it, but that doesn't mean that the core issue is actually successfully balancing itself out. And when we're talking about the core issue balancing itself out, we're talking about like an internal sort of belief system struggling. Do you find yourself disagreeing with your own opinions and finding reasons why it works or doesn't work, and so on and so forth? That's just one example of how you can feel that sort of internal pull between yourself and that. And it also is a good way to, sometimes when we're being self-aware as individuals, and that is always the most beautiful, important thing when it comes to tarot and anything when you're exploring your own connection to the world and yourself, is being self-aware. It's really great to be aware of these things, because sometimes you look back at yourself, and a good example is when people are like, yeah, I'm totally fine. And then something happens, they suddenly become emotional, and they're like, oh, I guess I wasn't fine. And it's great to become aware of being like, oh, this is how I confused myself for being more harmonious, because in this way I am harmonious, but in this other way, this is how I'm sort of needing to find that proper balance within myself and figure that out. Now remember, balance can also be concept of like your light and shadow self, which means not completely shutting one out or completely giving into one. And when we talk about your shadow self, that's like jealousy, anger, being more reactionary, survivalist type of mindset and stuff like that. So that's another example of that sort of back and forth, finding that balance within yourself. Now you'll find that sort of pull and counteracting itself, again, reflected over here. Again, they're separate issues, but they are still a similar concept going over. So in the Queen of Pentacles in reverse, this is actually technically a good card. It implies that somebody is right now not getting to exhibit and flourish and take advantage of all their skills and abilities and essentially reap what they sow, but they are so sort of great at their craft and good at what they do that while the timing is an issue at the moment, they are building up the potential and energy that when that opportunity presents itself, they're going to really go. So one, it's a compliment to what you have to offer now. Again, we talk about logic. Your logic will go, well, I'm good enough for the career, I should get the thing I want. But you're only focused on one perspective on the matter. That doesn't mean that logically isn't true and you aren't skillful. We have that confirmed. You are skilled at what you do. But it's about being open-minded that there's other ways of looking at the material and presenting itself. And if you're not willing to look at the material and possible opportunities, you unintentionally are closing yourself off. By the way, I hope this does not come across as some weird scolding thing. That is not my intention. That is not my energy I want to bring to this reading, and not my intentional energy at all. I'm just letting that be known. We're just trying to go through every aspect of how to break down the way of perceiving it, just to be clear. Anyways, so we got this great skill. You're really good at what you do, but right now the opportunity hasn't presented itself due to a couple factors with timing and stuff like that. But you're building and storing energy, which is very similar to what we talked about the Ace of Pentacles. There is the opportunity for it to fall into your hands and lap, but you just haven't. It's just not the right chance yet until you figure out the key going on. We're talking about the key here. But what counteracts it is the King of Wands in reverse. Now the King in Wands in reverse is jealous and controlling and wants to kind of get a grip on things because they don't feel that way. And when we have those two interacting, what's going on here, as my spirit guide explained it, is the Queen of Pentacles is like you're sitting, you're storing, nothing's quite working out yet, but you are talented, and when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to flourish and sort of, explode on the scene, if you will. But because nothing's happening and there is too much time to think and it's starting to feel frustrating, that is when that side of, again, maybe jealousy and controlling is too strong a verbiage here. Remember, when we use certain vocabulary in tarot, it can sound much more extreme than it actually is. So take what I'm saying very lightly. They're not absolute descriptor words. But anyways, the point is, when we're in that jealous and controlling mindset, we're saying like, oh, why can't I have what others have? Why can't I fix and control this situation? It's so frustrating because you essentially have too much time to think, and you're so self-aware that you're like, I did work hard. I am good enough. Why isn't this happening? And so over here we have a lacking energy, and over here we have an abundant energy, and they're sort of counteracting each other out. And that, again, we talk about that concept of that fighting within yourself and sort of canceling the other one out, and therefore having this imbalance which doesn't create momentum, and in turn kind of creates lack of momentum, but it doesn't create anything bad. It's just, you're sort of in like a back and forth type of thing. So anyways, you get the gist. Now over here we have the Other Worlds card in reverse, which is pretty simple. That's why I was initially like, what? Because over here we have a doorway, and over here we have the Other Worlds. Other Worlds Oracle card, when it's upright, is all about this idea of like very much being able to travel to different realms, being connected to the spirit realms, being connected to the non-physical, and being able to traverse it. And when it's in reverse, it implies there's some sort of disconnect, cutoff, you're just not able to get there in some kind of way. And I thought that was so unique to popping up in something so practical and straightforward as good fortune. So what's really interesting here is because it's in reverse, again, it talks about that idea of being closed off, and we always want to, in tarot, we're always looking for subtext, essentially. So the fact that the spirit realm pops up as an idea at all is important because it talks about something so what feels like out of left field compared to the logical nature of the swords, that it's something to consider. It's popping up for a reason. Remember, what pops up in tarot is what you need, not what you necessarily anticipated or wanted. So again, the key we've got going on over here is realizing that you need to take on a different way of emotionally, logically, face value-wise approaching the way you're perceiving and going about opening yourself up to opportunities and seeing yourself available to opportunities. That when we only have that surface level, that three-dimensional way of thinking, by the way, this is not a criticism of the three-dimensional way of thinking. I'm just saying, like, in the everyday life, you're in the three-dimensional world, you're thinking, how can I survive? What can I do in order to receive that? It's very straightforward. But in that fifth-dimensional type of thinking, that spirit realm type of thinking, you're like, oh, anything could happen. It could happen instantly. Time isn't technically linear. We can get very logical here. Time is just, we just talk about it in a linear way. It's not happening in a linear way. So you're really thinking out of the box, you're approaching life in a much different way, and essentially by approaching something, I bet actually I don't want to make any assumptions, but there is the potential that you might have thought, well, I just thought I needed to go pick up another shift or take on another skill in order to get X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, in your particular case, it's not something that's like tangible or another email or another thing. It's a perception. It's out of the box type of thinking and feeling and seeing what you might not have potentially even anticipated to take on. And last but not least, Ace of Wands, super straightforward. Essentially, it is being read upright. It is a new energy that is being brought to the Ace of Pentacles. Again, a very interesting choice of cards. Not, well, you could say, I don't know what other card would have fit because Ace of Pentacles is pretty straightforward, but again, when we view things in the world, we're putting out energies, and those energies are reflected back to us. And it's really interesting because most people don't realize what they are putting out energy-wise. They just only focus on things they say and see. This is why sometimes there's a disconnect when you're saying a lot of abundant things, but you're not connected to it, or now this is really nuanced what I'm saying, like nuanced, not as in you can't get it, nuanced as in like I'm doing the best I can to explain it in a quick enough amount of time. But have you ever found yourself trying to say positive mantras but not seeing results of it because you're essentially not putting out that energy? It's that same concept. It's like you're bringing a new energy. Again, not a logic, not a mindset, not an emotion, an energy. And we talked about how you're tapping into that energy, a totally different thing than you might have been potentially aware of, to bring to this situation, to have the key to unlock the door to receive the opportunity. So as you can tell, very detailed, very fun. You are a creative, smart person that has good fortune waiting right around the corner. And that this new mindset and perspective, and it will open up a lot of doors for adventure, for fun, and for so much more than just this good fortune. We're talking about future good fortune and a lot of other opportunities in life. So it's really beautiful. It's just another way to see things. And I hope all this detailed information helped you look into matters in a little more of a practical way. Anyways, I'm so excited for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps out the channel like you would not believe. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And let's get ready for group number 4. Group number 4. Let's find out what's going on with your fortune by looking at the cards. We've got Council, 10 of Wands in reverse, 3 of Cups upright, 6 of Cups upright, 3 of Wands in reverse, the Strength card upright, and 2 of Wands upright. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't clarify. I'm talking with my spirit guide right now. We're looking at the details and everything like that. Let me just continue doing that for one moment longer. Oh. Okay, super straightforward responses. Let's get into this. So first we're going to look at the 6 of Cups. This is actually in relationship to the Oracle card Council. So this card pops up when it is a good time to either receive or give counsel, that you want to go out of your way to pursue it, and it's a good time to listen to what others have to say to help you in any way possible, and to be open-minded and just hear what they have to say and take it on. Now, in the 6 of Cups, I'm being told that a couple individuals will be coming into your life from the past, and they have some sort of words of wisdom, if you will, and my spirit guide said that you do want to take their words to heart of what they have to say. It's really interesting that it does involve the past. You don't have to worry about if you somehow aren't the person you want to be right now, or if that has any sort of commentary on who you are now. Sometimes we, bring back what we've learned or gained knowledge from in the past and basically add added upon the already great person we are now. And sometimes this combination wouldn't have happened if you hadn't grown into the person you are now, separate from that past, and then essentially bring the two together to bloom into the next, hybrid version of yourself, if you will. And keep in mind, the past doesn't always have to be like, let's say this individual from the past is an ex. It doesn't mean you missed out on anything or you need to think about it. Maybe, they say something to you about how maybe it could be even like a condescending comment, but it in turn is still weirdly wisdom. Like maybe they accuse you of always having been a selfish person, right? As sort of a defense mechanism they're using because you're not giving them exactly what they need, right? But in turn, you recheck in with yourself and you're like, you know what? Back then, I was a little more aware of what I needed from moment to moment and really put that on the top of my, what I needed on the list of my needs. And, I'm reminded that was actually a good thing that helped me leave this relationship. And that's something I want to bring a little more into my life right now. That's a great place to be. So that can, be an unintentional, oh wait, hold on, my spirit guide's talking. My spirit guide said, but it will not be that at all, and it will be a very positive experience from people from the past. So hear what they have to say, take it to heart, and apply it. That will definitely be great for bringing in some good fortune because they have some great things to say. Now, 3 of Wands in reverse just basically says that there will be times when you are reaching out for a job opportunity or something like that. It's all about messages. And there will be times when you will not receive a response. But not receiving a response is a good thing, my spirit guide said. So if you reach out to a job and the job's just not taking your application, you're not hearing back from them and you thought you would, that's okay. It's a good thing that's not happening. Just don't take it to heart and just be like, okay, didn't hear back from them, moving on. And just don't think too deeply about it and move on to the next opportunity. You're sort of getting it's like a blessing in disguise, if you will. And it's a pretty straightforward response. And nothing, it's like for your own good type of thing. Moving on, we have here in the 2 of Wands upright and the Strength card. Now this is really interesting. So the 2 of Wands is somebody who has planned and they're ready to go out on their goals, their journey, whatever they want in life. And it's right before they're about to take on to the journey. They haven't taken that step yet, but they're right about going to. So it shows me that you're ready to take those moves going forward and receive that good fortune and make sort of moves, if you will, in your life in a big kind of way and roles. And I'll be honest with you, it feels very positively life-changing. A good example is let's say you were a more quiet person and then you have a turnaround in your life and you start to take on roles in your career where you're more outspoken and commanding a room and you're just living a totally different life than you were the first half of your life kind of thing. That'd be a good example of that type of thing. But anyways, with these 2 things in mind, you're going to, as you step forward, need to sort of tune in with yourself and take on the energy of what's going on in the Strength card. Because what will initially be a little bit annoying is actually going to benefit you in the long run. And you're essentially, think of it as when people say dress for the job you want kind of thing, you're putting out the energy and tension for the position you're going to have. So the Strength card is somebody who's able to tame the savage beast, if you will. But replace this line for a coworker. Instead of feeling frustrated by them or annoyed by them, you are, in so many words, I don't want to say baby them, because that's not the objective. It's more that they think that they're either getting their way or whatever like that, and you're seeing the bigger picture of what needs to be done. So you're not taking anything they say to heart. So imagine, if you're with that beast and they're like having a little cranky moment and growling, it seems more intense than it really is. They're just being cranky and you're just kind of like, okay, that's nice, sweetie. You're like, but I'm still the tamer. I'm still the one in charge of the situation. You might not know it because I'm approaching it in a very mature way, but you're putting out the energy and intention of somebody who is in control of the situation, who will be destined for more managerial and leadership type of goals, because you are able to know how to work with people in that kind of way in the moment. And initially, it might be a little annoying to deal with them, but it's sort of training, because what's going to happen is you're going to, go past them. They're going to stay at their position and you're going to get the opportunities they won't, because others will notice your way of working with individuals, because this is how the job will get done cleaner, easier, better. But you're also not being submissive and just, kind of being a doormat and dealing with other people's problems. So it's better for the whole, but you're not getting the advantage from it. Do you know what I'm saying here? So this is how you're going to step forward into the world. You're going to bring that energy, and that's what's going to move you forward into the positions you're happy with. What essentially seems, what at first feels like a little bit of a pain is going to be a blessing in the long term. Now, this is really cute and fun with what's going on over here in the Three of Cups and the Ten of Wands in reverse. Very straightforward. You will attract a lot of good fortune in your life in general in the long run if you are very self-aware of when you're feeling tense, or and something good to keep in mind is the Ten of Wands also not only refers to relieving tension, but it can also refer to giving back work that is other people's, like, people trying to shift work onto you. Remember, in the Strength card, the lion's like crying and being like, can you do this for me? And you're like, no, I won't. But let's try to figure this out together, or something like that. This, in the Ten of Wands, it's giving back the work that other people should be doing, and it's you saying, I will not be taking on the full group project. Here you go, here's your part of the group project. And if you're in check with that and working on your tension regularly and in tune with that, and this is really cute, in the Three of Cups, you're being supported that, like, you should have fun with friends, making that a priority in your life. When you are exuding this happy, social, loving, fun energy, feeling relieved, not feeling like you're taking on all of this intensity from work, always being self-aware when others are pushing on their work onto you and always giving it back to them, and being aware of this energy, you're opening yourself up for good fortune, essentially. So whenever you feel like you're not in a good mood, that would be a good time to check in with yourself, do what you need to do to feel better, go have a good time with friends, and make that a regular priority in your life. Because when you feel good, you attract other things that feel good, essentially. So it's a good motto to have. So I hope you enjoyed this. It's all about listening to what has worked in the past and you can bring into the now by taking on this very mature, self-aware, but in control personality and energy. Knowing that you do not need to take it personally if you're not hearing back from certain situations or positions or people. That's the response, that's the blessing. You're meant to go somewhere else. You're basically getting your message by not getting a message. And that, as long as you're regularly throughout your life checking in with yourself and doing what you need to do to feel happy, you are in turn attracting, and it's like you're doing more work than you know. Sometimes it's all about working smarter, not harder, and in the way it is for you to work smarter is to feel like your best self. So who doesn't love that? If you enjoyed this reading, please give it a like, a comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see all of my videos. I am wishing you the best. I look forward to seeing the next one. Goodbye.